Ladies and gentlemen. My name is Buerger. I work at Intel, same as Adrian Hoborn, and I have indeed the great pleasure to be the convener of the OSM Marketing Task Force. Now, by this time in the afternoon, I'm certain of two things. First of all, I'm probably the last presenter standing between you and a delicious, crisp Dutch beer, so I want to be very, very short and precise in my presentation. The second thing that I'm pretty sure of, that you've all feel that you've been sitting down quite a bit, and so I want to actually encourage a little bit of exercise. So if I could see a show of hands, who of you is actually working for somebody that makes VNFs? All right, that's quite a good percentage in the room. Who of you is working for, say, a system integrator that is integrating different VNFs from different vendors, say, to follow the specifications of an operator? Okay, we have some of these as well. Great. And who of you, then, the rest is not working at all? So, all right. And we have some operators here. Okay. So, my main message for this talk is very simple, and it's join us. OSM, in my personal experience of having been deeply engaged with about a dozen open source initiatives, is it's a unique opportunity to now join the fastest growing NFV open source project in the history of NFV open source projects. So what I really want to communicate this afternoon is, and put to your heart is a serious consideration to join this growing community. And we're really a community. This is not a project that operates on kind of the black box principle, where there's a couple of big vendors that got together and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and obtained leadership position in the TSC. This is a number of very committed individuals, very smart engineers, very committed architects, a number of marketing people that came together to work on a mission. And the mission is to create the next generation open source MANO project. And it's real people. Here you actually see, the first group of people at ETSI in April, when we were just getting together. We all have a little bit of a dazed look on our face, kind of trying to figure out what the mission and the vision of the project was. And then on the right, you see a lot of smiling people actually following the second OSM plenary that have now a true belief that we figured out what we want to do, and we're proud of our first accomplishment of actually releasing OSM Release 1. So why should you join? Now I'm going to give you a personal view on why I think you should consider joining, either as an individual or work with your company and make that investment into joining. First of all, this is a unique community in the way that the governance model, as well as the way the project works, is really operator-led. And you've heard from Andy Reid earlier today about the great leadership and the vision that these operators are sharing with a broad range of community members. That is very unique. Other projects have had this aspiration. Within OSM, it's actually happening. Secondly, and you've heard people like Francisco Javier as well as Adrian talk about the focus of the project. Open source projects sometimes get into the habit of chasing down rabbit holes and trying to become more of a midstream project where they integrate enormous amounts of libraries and packages and all these dependencies that have to be worked through. OSM from the beginning, even though it has a strong focus on being pluggable and replaceable, it's very, very focused on MANO. Secondly, thirdly, I'm sure you've heard all about the speed at which this project has been able to operate and be successful in. I do not know of another open source project in NFV that has, for 2 releases now, delivered ahead of time. Right? Usually, the opposite is true, where releases get pushed out, there's last-minute fixes, there's like service pack after the release has been done. Right? All of us that have gone through some OpenStack, Open Daylight, releases, we know that experience. OSM, so far, we have been very focused on actually rapid development, rapid learning, enabling learning by doing, as Andy calls it. And that is very, very unique to this project. Fourth, and this is an important point, especially as the project is maturing, open source projects have to be set up in the right way to be successful. You hear many people talk about the concepts of meritocracy and open and effective governance models. But governance is really hard. And one of the key points that I think Francisco will join me in sharing is that the governance model within OSM that we've come up with works really, really well. Right? Everybody has a fair chance to participate. It's really based on merit. And we've seen it actually working now, for example, within the ETSI. And then the fifth reason is, as an engineer, you want to work with the best in the industry. And OSM is really that opportunity to work with very, very smart architects from a number of companies. Right? We're now about 46, 47 companies that have come together, working with leading researchers and CTO members from operators to get advanced technologies done. This is not a drawing by the numbers kind of exercise where we are executing against a set of very clean and crisp requirements from the operator community. As Andy was saying before, we're kind of in the process of working quite a lot of things out. Right? We don't have all the answers yet, but we have a vision of what we want to accomplish. And that momentum that we're creating is tremendously exciting. So when I actually talk about OSM publicly, one of the key questions that I get is, it's not the Linux Foundation. Since when does ETSI does open source? Is that a hindrance, right? Typically, they just produce paper. They're not known for producing code. And again, based on my personal experience here, working with ETSI, and Adrian was actually commenting on how well this has worked, right? And I'm going to quote you, Mark, here, is ETSI has created a world-class technical infrastructure to enable the project, right? That was a quote Mark said at the beginning at the OSM Plenary 1, from the GitHub and Fossology infrastructures, code review structures. This is world-class. This is as good as you can get in open source. Secondly, and this is a result of kind of the enthusiasm that the original technical members, but also now the growth that we're seeing in the community that still pervades the entire project, is this hands-on support, this very friendly attitude towards working together, towards exploring together, fixing bugs together. And again, with a number of other open source projects that you get in NFV, that kind of sense can go away very quickly. Within OSM, it's real. It's real. People are very responsive, very friendly to incorporating new code, new suggestions, new proposals. And I'd also like to think is that the support that we're getting from ETSI for marketing is very good. So again, maybe a little bit self-serving, but if you have a marketing title on your business card, I would love to talk to you about the great work that we're doing within the OSM Marketing Task Force and how you can help us to build one of the most successful NFV-specific open source projects. So how can you get engaged? Francisco Javier was talking about this before. One of the key guiding principles that we put in place when we created OSM was to make the barrier of entry very, very low. And unlike many other SDN and NFV projects that require either a 5-digit or 5-figure amount or 6-figure amount to join, OSM is essentially free. Of course, there are 2 different agreements or 2 different paths. If you're already an ETSI member, there's a membership agreement that is available on the website that you can download. If you are not an OSM, if you're not an ETSI member, there's a participant agreement that you can download. And what's interesting within the community right now, the split between participant and member is about 50-50. So yes, there have been kind of a body of existing ETSI members that have joined, but there are also 20-odd companies that had not been engaged in NFV through ETSI that have now become part of the community, and that's very, very exciting. We're capturing a lot of new target audiences and a lot of innovation that's being driven by particularly these smaller companies that don't have a history of working with, big French-based standard development organizations. And, you can really join in multiple ways, and this is the same as in any open source project, right? Of course, at this stage of the development cycle, we always like contributors, people coming to us with the coin of the realm, which is code, right? And have a desire to provide libraries, code, or even bug fixes. But also we're now with release 1, we're at the stage where you can become a very effective member of the community by becoming a user, right? And at the end of my talk, Francisco Javier actually is going to show you, the installation process and how it has completed. And so to really prove that this is possible, it's easy, and you are now able to take a full open source MANO stack into your lab. And of course, we'd love both, right? If you want to be both a contributor and a user, those are great community members that can combine their feedback based on the real world experience that they've seen in the lab. So my call to action to you is very, very simple. Plug in, find a suitable space, either in a module development group, which is very specific, and there's a growing number of them. If that is of interest to you, or if that's kind of the area that your company is working at. Within the marketing task force, of course, that is great. Or just as an individual to contribute your ideas, your code, your bug fixes to OSM. All right, and with that, I'll take some questions. Okay, Francisco Javier. Thank you.